Is this thing on? It's been a while since I posted anything, and my garage has changed quite a bit. I used to have a bunch of 80s American cars that I was restoring, but now my garage is an electric garage. So I've got a couple of electric cars. I've got 3 electric cars that I've been playing with, and I wanted to talk about one of the ones that I have that's been kind of controversial, and that's this car, the ID Buzz. So the newest addition to my garage is the ID Buzz. And the ID Buzz has really been a controversial car. It was really hyped when it came out as the successor to the famous Volkswagen bus. And from a styling perspective, I really think they hit it out of the ballpark. I think it's a great design. However, once it hit the market, there was a lot of negative press. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that. One of the first things that people complained about was the price. Now, Volkswagen really aimed high on price. The standard MSRP on these things were $65,000, plus you could do all your options, and then dealers were marking them up. And it was not unheard of to see these things for like $80,000 when they first came out. And although there was some initial hype of people really wanting them, once they looked at the sticker price, they said, you know, basically it's a really nice looking minivan for $80,000. There's a lot of other cars that I could get for that price. One of the things they did do, though, to try to justify the price was add lots of features. And I'm going to talk about those in a minute. But before I get to that, I want to talk a little bit about what's happened with prices. Well, as you probably know, Volkswagen has announced that they are not bringing over the ID Buzz in 2026. And that basically is because they have so many of them from the 2025 model year that they think that they could continue to supply the US through most of 2026 to sell the supply they already have, and then they'll bring in 2027s as needed, maybe at the end of 2026 or whenever the supply runs out. So there's a lot of ID Buzzes out there, and they were pretty aggressive thinking they could get top dollar for them. But what's happened is as these things have sat on the lots and storage facilities for Volkswagen, prices have come down. In fact, right off the bat, Volkswagen's giving you $7,500 before you even walk in the door and negotiate. And a lot of these dealers that have had these things sitting on the lot for 6 or 7 months really are aggressive in getting rid of them. So if you're in the market and if you've ever thought about it but were turned off by the price, I would say now's a good time to look. I know we just bought this less than a month ago, and I shopped several dealers in the Southern California area, and all of them were very aggressive on pricing. So don't be scared of price anymore, because I think that the market has spoken and Volkswagen has reacted.
So what do you get for the money? Well, to justify the price, Volkswagen added a lot of content to these vans. The interior, to me, has a very upscale feel to it. It's very light and airy. And one of the coolest features I think they added was this electrochromatic sunroof. You just slide your finger and it goes from clear to opaque, which is a very cool feature. The van features a Harman Kardon stereo system, rear seat heaters, and every door has a charge port, so your passengers can charge their devices. Also, your rear seat passengers have control over their own AC, so there's controls there. They can control their own climate. The front seats for both the driver and the passenger are heated and cooled, but one of the cool features is they are also massaging seats. So there's a couple different programs you could run and have the driver and passenger get massages while you're going down the road. The Harman Kardon stereo system has a very cool equalizer, and I have to say, for a minivan, it sounded pretty good. And it also has some cool little surprises, like this little graphic that shows up during navigation. The biggest thing about this van is, for such a short wheelbase, it is huge. You could really haul a lot of stuff in this van.
One of the other complaints about the ID Buzz was range. Now, this particular ID Buzz has a EPA registered range of 234 miles. And a lot of cars now, even a lot of the GM cars, the Lucid and things like that, have ranges of 300 and more. So for a car in 2026, it is a relatively short range compared to other new cars out there. Since range is such an issue, I'm going to hit the road with this, and I'm going to do a test. I'm going to drive from California to Arizona on an 8-hour road trip. I'm going to test real-world range, and I'm going to test real-world charging speed. So come along with me, and we'll check out just how efficient the ID Buzz is. All right, first charging station, Quartzsite, Arizona. Wait. Stay there, pup. You stay there. All right, we are charging at right now 106 kilowatts per hour. Kind of a slower charge. We've been here for about 10 minutes. We probably got 5 to 10 minutes more to go until we are done, and then we are off to the Phoenix area. All right, finishing up the charge here in Quartzsite. We're at 87%. We charged for 22 minutes. All right, we are off. 202 miles. We charged for 22 minutes. Next stop, the Phoenix area.
In Quartzsite, the maximum charge rate we got was 106 kilowatt hours. We charged for 22 minutes. The cost is 42 cents per kilowatt hour for a total cost of $18.73, which after driving 139 miles turned out to a cost of 13 cents a mile.
All right, almost at 80 cents. We've been charging for 80%. We've been charging for 26 minutes, so we're at 80 now, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop the charge. All right, we've got 176 miles, 80% charged, and we are ready to go.
In Chandler, we spent 26 minutes at the charging station with a higher rate of about 170 kilowatt hours. The total cost was $21.92. That's a cost of 42 cents a kilowatt hour. We drove 148 miles, which averaged out to almost 14 cents a mile.
right, made it to Tucson and had plenty of charge left. But in order to know how much electricity I used, I am going to plug it in and let it run and charge fully. And then I'll take the amount of energy I put in to bring it back to full since I started at full, so I could determine what the total amount of electricity used was. So charging at 6.6 kilowatt hours. Very cool little graphic that they have up here. And I will let it charge. In fact, I'm gonna put it all the way to 100, even though you're not supposed to, but I want, since I started at 100, I want to charge at 100 so I can tell how much electricity I used totally on the charge. And it looks like 4 in the morning is when I will be fully charged. I'm using a 50 amp plug, charging at 6.7 kilowatt hours. It's going to take about 9 hours and 20 minutes. We're fully charged in Tucson, and now it's time to look at some statistics on how much it costs to charge and how long it took. So let me grab my little cheat sheet here. We had 3 stops along the way. We stopped in Quartzsite, Chandler, and then we fully charged here in Tucson. Our total mileage that we drove was 390 miles. Our charging costs were $18.73 for the first charge, $21.92 for the second charge, and here, charging at home, it's much cheaper. It was only $8.45. So that was a total cost of $49.10 for driving from Palm Springs to Tucson, a total of 390 miles, which breaks down to about 12 cents a mile for driving. So how does that compare? Well, I wanted to compare it to maybe an equivalent car. Now this basically is a minivan. So what I did is I went online and I looked at what's the best selling minivan, which apparently is a Toyota Sienna. And what's the real world mileage that Sienna drivers are saying? And so right now, Sienna drivers are saying they get 31.5, 31.6 miles per gallon for a 2026 Sienna. So if I took the 390 miles we drove, divided it by 31.5 miles per gallon, it would have taken about 12.38 gallons of gas. So how much would that cost? Well, right now, the average price of unleaded in Arizona is $4.61 a gallon. So that would have been a cost of $57.07. So we're just about $9 cheaper with an electric car. Now, I also took the national average because Arizona, California traditionally have higher gas taxes, so the price of gas is higher. The national average for gas is $3.98 a gallon for unleaded right now, the same week that I drove the electric car. And so if I took $3.98 times the 12.38, we get to $49.27, which is about 15 cents more than the electric car. So what does that mean? I guess it means that depending upon how much gas is in your local area and what kind of car you drive, if you drive a car that gets 31, 32 miles per gallon and you're in a state that has relatively cheap gas, then your cost may be the same. And also, I guess it depends on how much your electricity costs are, because if your gas prices are lower, maybe your electricity prices are lower too. The prices we paid for the charging stations, both were in Arizona, so we paid Arizona electric rates. So for me, it was cheaper. It was cheaper by about $10. We added 20 minutes on one charge and 25 minutes on another charge. So it did increase the amount of travel time by about 45 minutes, 50 minutes, which was fine with me. I stopped, went to the restroom, had something to eat, and it was a pretty flawless trip. So I guess the other thing is, what are my thoughts on the Volkswagen and taking this on a road trip? Well, it was a very comfortable car. It was really nice. It has what they call semi-autonomous driving, which basically is lane keeper and adaptive cruise control. If you're not paying attention to the road, it gives you little signals to, put your hands on the wheel and things like that. So similar to a lot of other cars, Super Cruise and things like that. Not quite as fully automated as, say, a Lucid or autopilot on a Tesla, but enough to make it a very comfortable ride. The only issues I did have were sometimes the CarPlay would connect and disconnect, so that was kind of random. That was a little frustrating sometimes, but nothing else really stood out as being an issue. I will say there was plenty of room in the car. It was very comfortable, and I think it's ready for a road trip. I think it's road trip ready. I think the 2 hours of driving, stopping and charging, 2 hours of driving, stopping and charging is fine for a road trip, in my opinion. It gives you a chance to take a break. The charge stops really aren't that long, and it broke up the monotony of driving. So overall, I would rate this as a very good car for road tripping. I think now that prices are down, it's more competitive. I'm not quite as worried about range. I think it's a matter of getting a good deal on the car. And if you need something with this much space, very comfortable for road tripping. So that's it for now. Later on, I will do some videos on some of the other electric cars I have in my garage. As always, thank you for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe, and we'll see you on the open road.